Hi, boys and girls. This week we've been learning about forces, and we know that an object will only move if a force acts upon it. And the forces will move them, and they also make them stop. You know, if you roll a car across the floor and it hits a wall, the reason that it stops is because the wall is exerting force. Now, I was thinking about rolling cars across the floor and hitting the wall, and I remember that often when I would roll my car and it hit the wall, it would bounce back a little bit. And the reason is because the force the car is exerting is less than the wall has. Or, well, they kind of act on each other, but you know, it's going to bounce back because of the force of the wall. So we've talked about forces like pushing and pulling. And we talked about friction. Friction is a force that will slow and stop something. And that's the bumps and grooves on an object or on, the road, even on the tires of the car. Those bumps and grooves will slow things down. Today we're going to talk about another force, and this is the force of gravity. Now, gravity is kind of a wild force. But if you think about the planet, we are right here on Earth in Indiana. If I'm up here on top and I'm standing on the Earth and somebody is down here in Antarctica, why don't they fall off the Earth? Because our planet has gravity. And that is a force that holds and pulls everything towards the center of the earth. So if you are a person, you are going to be standing on Earth, and the planet is acting on you like a force, and it's pulling you towards the center of Earth. So when you have something in your hand and you let go of it, it goes down to the ground. If you're in space, there is no gravity. And you may have seen astronauts in space. They let go of something and it floats off into space. Well, that's because in space there is no gravity. But here on Earth we have gravity, and it pulls us towards the center of the Earth. When something is dropped or falls, it is pulled towards the center of the Earth because of gravity. So gravity is a force. Let's read about gravity. In space there is no air. So in space there is no air friction. If you were an astronaut and you threw your toy car into space, no friction would slow it down. Your car would keep going forward unless it ran into your rocket ship. The second force that stops the car is called gravity. If you drop the car, it falls. Why? Why doesn't it stay up? You haven't thrown it down. You haven't pushed it or pulled it. But it moved, so some other force must be pulling it down. That force is called gravity. Gravity is the force that every object has for every other object. You have gravity, your big brother has gravity. If the two of you are standing on opposite sides of the room, you both have a tiny, tiny amount of gravity pulling you toward each other. You will never feel the force from this gravity. It is much too small. The gravity force between any two objects depends on how much they weigh. Most of the time, gravity is a teeny tiny force. When you hold a carrot in your hand, there is a gravity force between you and the carrot, but you will never feel it. There is a gravity force between your big brother and your cat, but neither of them cares. You can feel the gravity between you and another object only if either you or that other object is really, really huge. Really huge, like the size of the entire Earth, the whole planet. Everyone can feel the Earth's gravity. It's a big force. The Earth's gravity pulls you and everything else on or near the Earth down. It pulls things toward the center of the Earth. If you dug a deep hole and dropped your big brother into it, he'd fall until he hit the bottom. The Earth's gravity would pull him all the way down. The Earth has so much gravity that when we say gravity, we're almost always talking about the Earth's gravity, not the gravity between you and your big brother or the gravity between a carrot and a cat. Gravity is such a part of our everyday lives that you probably don't even think about it. If you spill a glass of milk, you expect it to spill down onto the floor rather than up onto the ceiling. If you let go of your toy car, you expect it to fall to the ground. If you throw your car across the room, you expect it to end up on the floor, not suspended halfway up the living room wall. Gravity is why apples on trees fall down to the ground instead of staying up in the sky. Gravity makes it hard to throw a baseball all the way to the moon. That's why your parents' cars stay on the ground instead of soaring through the air. It's why rockets to space have such huge engines. The big engines make enough force to be stronger than gravity. Forces are all around us. Forces make things go faster and slower. They make things stop. They make things start. Forces get things moving. So, we're going to be talking a little more about gravity today in our science lesson. But remember, the forces we have learned about so far are push, pull, friction, and now gravity. I'll talk to you soon.